Chef Tony Matas for BarbecueGuys.com. Today I'd like to make some buttermilk biscuits. Real deal buttermilk biscuits with a few handy additions. If anybody knows someone who's been making buttermilk biscuits, some great lady who's made them for you for 10 or 20 years, or you know a pastry chef, please do not ask them to watch this show. They will not like the use of this item here. I can tell you, if you would like to cut your shortening or butter into your flour yourself using a pastry knife or a fork or whatever method you'd like, I've done the same exact recipe in that fashion, and it does come out better. But what I hope to do today is demystify some of the simple things that are great that the average person is afraid to attempt. The average person is afraid of using cast iron because you have to do all sorts of weird things to use it. The average person is afraid of making real buttermilk pancakes, biscuits, real bread, because it's so hard, it's so complicated. Well, if you read the box of mix, when you make the mixed product, there's about 500 ingredients. Of course the average person thinks that that's hard to do. But as you can see, and I've got a couple other things in the freezer, but as you can see, there are not that many ingredients to buttermilk biscuits. And as I said, they do come out a little bit better if you do them completely by hand. But this is a perfectly good method, and they taste very good. I'm also going to be baking them. I'm going to bake them on a cast iron skillet, and I'm going to bake them in my grill dome. I've got it preheated to about 450 degrees. And like I said, I really just want to make this very simple. I want to show people how easy it is. They taste great, so I can't think of any reason to snob somebody for doing it easier and still having some good biscuits. What you have to start out with is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Preferably you want to pre-sift. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And you want to blend all of your dry ingredients together first with a fork or a whisk. It doesn't really matter. As I said, we're trying to make this kind of simple. Trying take the culinary snob away from it so that we can all enjoy some really good food. I have the body and blade as well as 1/2 stick of diced butter in my freezer right now, where they've been for about a half an hour, which is how long you want to keep them in there before you come out here and do what we're about to do with it. You want everything to be very cold, and that will help to maintain the pastry side of things without having to actually cut it in. Here we go. You put your dry into the body of your food processor. First thing you want to do, this is 1/2 stick of butter that I have cubed up into about 1/4 inch to a little bit less than 1/2 inch size pieces. And you're just going to pulse this until you get sort of a crumble effect. As I said, this is very top secret. Looks almost like a meal. It's kind of mealy. All right, once we get to that consistency, take your cup of buttermilk. You want to keep this in the fridge as long as possible as well. You want to drizzle this in. And that's it. You don't want to overwork it. That is one of the bigger problems, and that is one of the issues why most people don't like to use these. So if they don't know, and no one's ever showed them, and it just tells you to throw it all in and process it up, people will blend it up until it's been in there way too long. You know, part of the thing with biscuits, if you want them to be very good, is they need to be kind of, there's a knack to them. You have to make them 3 or 4 times before you think they're great, but there's definitely something about making your own biscuits and the taste of them that's definitely worth it. All right, you want to be well dusted, but you don't want to have mounds. I'm hoping that you're able to see this close enough. You don't have mounds on there either, because it'll mess up what you have going on with your biscuits. Now you want to be very gentle. Like I said, to me, how you get everything blended together is not the most important part. It is how you handle your dough and how cold you keep everything. Now you only want to knead this about 3 or 4 times, and that's it. It's going to feel kind of sticky, but that's biscuits. We're not making bread today. This is the biscuit show, so that's just the way it is. You'll see some of this is a little gooey and whatnot. Don't worry about it. Now, there's all sorts of things you can do with this, but I like to just keep it kind of basic since we're doing buttermilk. And it's such an old school biscuit. I usually just kind of flatten them out like this. You want to roll or flatten them out to about a 1/2 inch before you start cutting. When we get into cutting, I'll show you one other thing that makes somewhat of a difference as well. And that's it. You don't want to overwork your biscuits, because the more you work them, the more everything's going to bind together and the gluten's going to build, and you're not going to have flaky biscuits. And that's what you're here to do today, right? For cutting, you could use a circle, a square, stars and stripes. Use whatever you'd like. But one thing about cutting biscuits, especially if you're trying to get flaky buttermilk biscuits like this, is definitely don't do any sort of twisting or anything that would pinch the sides where you cut. I like to just use a knife and keep it kind of simple. And I just make one cut like that. I'm actually going to kind of pull that apart later. You don't want to, again, you don't want to beat this up a whole lot. And I don't want to pinch the sides with my knife, because it won't rise up like it should. All right, now my skillet is just lightly oiled. I'll stick my biscuits in here. Right. Let's see how they're looking. I'd say those look better than any frozen toaster or microwave pastries. The only thing we have left to do now, which is made kind of simple for me by these guys, Grill Pro, this double basting set, is to coat the top of each biscuit with a little melted butter, unsalted preferably. I like to be able to add my own salt if I add however much you want to add, and that way you don't have to worry about how much is in there. There we'll go. I'll let that brown up for just a minute or two, and then we will pull them off the grill and take a close look. They should be good and browned up by now on the tops, and they are. They look great. There you have it. Buttermilk biscuits prepared inside of a food processor, cooked on a black iron skillet, and cooked inside of a grill dome. I mean, you can't get much more simplistic than that. I think for 15 minutes or so in the kitchen, that's good eating. Southern buttermilk biscuits. All that's left to decide now is whether you go plain and simple like I usually like it. I usually like to slice it open, put a little butter on the inside, maybe some jelly, and I'm good. I'm set. I like buttermilk biscuits. But if you talk to 100 Southerners, you'll get 100 different answers about what's the best way to do that. Honey on top, crackling, sour cream, cream cheese, cane syrup. I've heard them all. Some of them sound incredible. Some of them sound incredibly disgusting. If you're not a Southerner, find yourself a Southerner, call one, see how they like it, and maybe give that a shot. Appreciate you watching today. Hope that you see that with just a couple pieces of cast iron, a grill dome, and a little know-how, not a whole lot, you can make incredible things in your kitchen or outside or even camping, wherever you might be. Really appreciate you watching today. I want you to remember at barbecueguys.com, we smoke the competition.